go back to a little bit of HTML to do things a little more complicated, a little more interesting. So you're not going to remember it all, but I showed you this really scary form tag a while back, and no one remembers anything. But forms in HTML are a way of inputting data, and so you'll see them a lot. It's first name, and then there's a little box and you stick it in, and then there's a submit button, things like that. And so that's indicated with this form tag here, and there are two very important attributes for that. The first is action, and that's where the form will go to after you hit the submit button. So if you do empty double quotes like this, it'll just come back to the same page. But for example, you could send it to some other page, what's called a landing page, where you land after you submit the form. And then for now, just say method equals get. There's another kind, which is post, but it's slightly different, and you don't need to worry about it. So this is the general structure, but then a lot of times I like to do a table, just because it organizes all of the different tags you're going to have. Yeah, Ben?
You said action could go to a page and also go to a function.
Yeah. So so right now, since it's coming back to the same page, it will come back to ben.php, and so it'll call all of your PHP code stuff again, which is why after learning how to do this in HTML, we'll go back and work on the PHP page and modify it so that it can handle getting all of the values in. Which makes more sense when we get there. But again, I usually do it in a table just to keep things organized. We probably don't have time for that, but it's a little have things kind of messy, and we have very few inputs right now, just when we're learning to do things and testing out. But just for future reference, that's generally what I do. And then we've got familiar table rows, table datas. So then you've got some prompt text in one column. And then the way you have inputs into the field is by the handy one called input. And so type, here you don't actually have the square brackets. The types you can put in are things like text and drop down and radio buttons and all of these sorts of things. And then the name attribute tells you what the variable is going to be called after you put a value into it. So for example, if this prompt text was first name colon, then you'd have input type equals text, name equals, and then like F name or something like that. And then you just can keep going down, putting as many different kinds of inputs as you want. And then at the very end, you have what are called hidden fields. And these will make more sense as we go into what happens when the page comes back. But a hidden field means that it doesn't show up on the page because it's hidden. So when you navigate to the page, you won't see it there at all, but it'll be automatically submitted with some value for you. And that's important because you need to be able to tell if the form has been filled out or not, and that comes into play when you do it in your PHP. So for now, just trust me and put it. Whether you put it or don't, at this point, it doesn't really matter, but you're going to need it later, so just know that it's there. And then this one is also important because of WordPress specific things, because each page has a page ID, and so you need to remember this when you're coming back to the same page. Again, I'll hit on it more when you actually have to do that. Right now, we're just getting some inputs and stuff, and they'll just be pretty pictures until we use PHP to do magical things with them. Finally, the other important one for now is the submit. So this will automatically generate a little submit button, which without PHP won't do anything all that interesting. But input type equals submit, and then value just refers to what will actually show up on the button. Does all of that make sense? Do you have it written down? Will you retain it? I'm going to make you do it in a matter of seconds.
You need like
I can possibly write that down.
I got it written down.
Wait, I don't have it
Okay.
written down yet.
So what you guys take notes?
That's my face. Give me some time to write it down.
This is also all on the internet. I just made it.
Oh, I know, but it's easier.
Wait,
To write down with
I
this.
got it.
I wrote it down. I don't want to see
It doesn't have any more information than I need.
Yeah, that's most of the reason. The only reason we have PowerPoint.
There we go, see, I wrote it down.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Now do it.
No.
go back.
So this is a general example for HTML again, if you want to use this.
Just reading.
And then go ahead and make a web form. Don't do it in a table because we don't have time for that.